Okay. You have in your handout everything you need to know about a 72-hour kit. You will see this. You want to stay alive for 72 hours. In an emergency, our government has said, we'll be there in 3 days. Ask the Katrina victims. So we call it a 72-hour kit, but everybody says if you're not packing it in a backpack, go for a week. And this is stuff that is stored. This is not on your cabinet shelf. This is stuff that's stored. And so you'll see all that in the handout. Let's go to shelter in place or evacuate. I have just skipped suggestions on food. You'll see some of them. The handouts will get you some ideas. Some of you are thinking, what should we get? It's all on the handout. It'll be on Nita's web, and it will be on the blog, or is on the blog. But after this is over, take a look at that and get some ideas. Shelter in place or evacuate. We would like to think our house will still be standing in an emergency. The fact remains that you may end up having the order to evacuate. What should you do if the government has given you an order to evacuate? I'm hearing go. Do I hear it? Go. Go. All of you saw interviews on TV about the people who are going to ride it out. They were white. They were shaking. They nearly died. So evacuate. Now, it would be nice to think that you're going to be able to put all your good stuff in a car and drive out, right? You have a mental list of, I want to take grandmother's knitted shawl, or I want to do this. All of us have it, women anyway. We do. We kind of think of that. But you can pile a lot of stuff in a car. What if you drive out of your driveway, turn left, and the bridge you were going to go over isn't there? So, I know another route. Back up. Drive and go the other way. A huge tree has fallen, and you only have 2 ways out of your neighborhood, and the water is rising. What are you going to do? Oh, yeah. Hopefully you've been praying beforehand. Think of putting everything that each person in your family needs in a backpack. You're not going to be able to carry out enough water to last. It's not going to happen. Lynn has in hers 4 containers of water. Is that going to last 3 days? Yeah, if she just takes a sip or 2. In an emergency, y'all can do that. None of this food takes water to prepare. You can live on that. So just keep it in mind. We picked up her grip. Lynn, could you lift it easy? No. You got to be able to slip it on your back and carry it. So just keep in mind that in an awful emergency, you want to be able to tote it with you. So think Goodwill stores, thrift shops, Army, Navy, and just pick up some. You'll be glad. Next slide. Y'all, sometimes our neighborhoods aren't going to be safe. That's reality with what may be coming. You need to get out of your neighborhood if it's not going to be safe. So take a look at around you. Is there a place you can do what they call bug out? Just put your knapsack on and find a place that you're away from your house. That's kind of a worst case scenario, but it's not a bad one to think about, and I want to mention it. is that you need to know where you might go, that you could walk out if things went south really, really fast. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are disaster warnings or realities. You may have no warning. Your family is spread out all over the place. The bridges and the elevated highways have collapsed. The roads are destroyed or blocked with debris. The disaster compounds. It was started out with one thing, and then it became two, and then it became three. How many of you saw the pictures of the burning neighborhood in Queens? I can't imagine that. But those are the things that you have to consider, that it may not be a simple one-item disaster. What if the emergency just lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts some more? What if our 3-day supply runs out? Those are things to think about. What if normal never comes back? Next slide. Philippians 4:13. I have strength for all things in Christ who empowers me. I'm ready for anything, equal to anything through him who infuses inner strength in me. I'm self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. Y'all, that's got to be more than a verse. We got to know it. We have to have absolute confidence that he is able on our behalf. So now we're going to hit the good stuff. I just want to mention earthquakes. Next slide. Next slide, yeah. We have our disaster preparedness stuff. We've gone through the earthquake drill. And everybody has been taught to hit the floor, get under what? A sturdy table or desk, and hold on. They have found in Haiti, when they dug people out of the rubble, that the people that came out alive were in a pocket. What's a pocket? It's a little triangle. Can y'all see me? It's a little triangle that would be made right here. The debris hits this and falls this way. And you're just squished up against whatever is solid. And they're finding that is something you need to consider. It isn't in most of the disaster sites don't talk about it, because this is just people that responded to Haiti that found out that the people they pulled out alive had this pocket of protection. So as you're thinking about responding to the tremors, think about that. The other thing that nobody has said that I have found is, what if you're cooking supper when you feel that first tremor? Turn the stove off. I mean, it takes a second. Do it before you dive. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse than having that second disaster hit you. Next slide. Oh, you found that. Wow. We don't have that anywhere at all. I am surprised. I did not know that you had that up. But this will save you. So just keep that in mind. Thank you for doing that. I could not find a picture anywhere. Next slide. Where did y'all get that? Internet. You're so smart. It is not, I could not find it. And I looked at a bunch of sites, and it was like, they're still having us crouch under a table. But at least, we're doing this. Okay, can we get back to, I think it's slide number 43. These are the what ifs. What if our money is worthless? Your money is worthless if you go to the grocery store and the shelves are empty. Your money is worthless if you pull up to the gas station and there ain't no gas. What if a disaster prevents you from going to work? Most of us can't meet our budget requirements if we've missed a week of work. This would be a disaster. What happens if you're unable to work because you've had an accident or an illness? And then the last one, what happens if normal never returns? Next slide. Nita's been talking about this, we've been praying about it, and we got to know what to do. How long can your family survive with what is currently in your home? Think about it. You're not going to be able to purchase one thing else because your money is just little pieces of green stuff in your wallet. So this is where we're headed. We've gotten the basics. Every disaster you encounter, the things we just talked about, is your first step. If you haven't done that, you can't do the rest of this. So that's got to come first. Next slide. You want to start with a 3-month storage plan. This is food, medicines, cleaning equipment, toiletries. If you've got babies, you want to be sure you've got that. Toilet paper. Next slide. You got to make the decision to prepare. Are you willing to sacrifice the now for a future? Not for the future, just you want one. Okay, everybody, do something for me. Breathe in. Breathe out. That means you're alive. That's the point of this. You want to keep breathing in and breathing out. This is a biggie. Next slide. Okay, you're convinced. Everybody convinced? Woohoo! We're going to breathe in, we're going to bring out. Okay, next slide. Get started. This sounds very mundane. You men aren't going to enjoy this at all, but it's necessary because you eat the food that is brought into the house. When you go grocery shopping, ladies, don't put your groceries up. Spread it on the counter. Most of us shop once a week, or we try to, no more than that. Or if you shop less than that or more than that, spread it out, whatever. Look at what you bought. What do you eat at meals? What's actually consumed at breakfast, lunch, and supper? Everything else, you all, is fluff. You don't have to have it. You think, okay, I'm going to eliminate everything that's fluff. So I don't have to have corn chips. But salsa isn't fluff. That would be mine. I would choose the salsa. But you're going to trim it down. Then you're going to trim it further. You've got spread out, and this is what you're going to do. Look, are you buying premium store brands? I really like Le Sueur peas. I don't like the 98-cent peas. They're big and they mushy. I like Le Sueur peas. But Le Sueur peas cost $1.29. That's fluff. Trim it. Can you switch to store brands? Take a look at the meats you just bought. Did you buy steak? Think hamburger. What you've done is you have created a new baseline budget. You're going to look at what you absolutely have to eat. Next slide. You're going to go through the same process with all the stuff that you normally buy. You're going to get it down to what you must have to survive. You're going to cut. Your new motto is wear it out, use it up, or do without. For the next 3 months, you're going to buy for the next 6. Y'all, it can be done. It can be done. You have to choose. Next slide. What you're going to buy is what's in cans or boxes or packets. They'll keep. It's only 3 months. Everything you buy in the grocery store shelves is going to last 3 months. Most of them are going to last 2 years and more. This is your buy list. Make a list of what your family normally eats. Come up with menus that you create over and over again and buy that stuff. You don't want some exotic something in your prepared list because you haven't eaten it and you're not going to. This is what you normally have because you're going to be eating out of this for 3 months. Okay, next slide. I'm going to put the toilet paper up. Y'all, there isn't a person I'll put it back. There is not a female in the world that doesn't think of toilet paper. Everybody says, are you buying toilet paper? And we say, yeah. So I'm recommending that every time you go to the grocery store, you buy the biggest thing of toilet paper you can find. Figure out how much toilet paper you use in a month. Multiply it by 3 and make sure you have it. But don't stop there. Keep buying it. Toilet paper is like gold, you all. Gold. Again, men, you don't care if you use leaves. I don't want to use a leaf. This is important. Buy toilet paper. You know, you can barter it. The people who've been buying gold, their wives will say, get me some toilet paper. You're going to have yourself a nice little bit. So just keep it in mind. The toilet paper works. I'm so serious about that. I've got it stacked to the rooftops. And it's important. The other thing is, next slide, check your medicines, you all. You've got to know you've got them. This is intense. If you're medicine dependent, talk to your doctors and say, I want a 3-month prescription. And just can build it. Buy it at the earliest possible renewal date, and then you'll begin building up your pill inventory. Next slide. If you've got babies or toddlers, try to find cloth diapers. You may not use them now. You may prefer the Pampers. But in an emergency, you're going to go to the grocery store and there won't be any. That goes. In the South, we're going to have a couple of flakes of snow. Milk, bread, Pampers go off the shelf. It's like, y'all, it's going to melt the next day, but we're going to get those things. So just remember that even if you don't buy a whole lot of this stuff, it's good barter. Somebody's going to need baby stuff. So it's just like money. It is just like money. So purchase what you need now. Make sure you've got it, because the baby, if you've got a newborn baby, in 3 months, it's not going to eat the same thing. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. Same thing. Feminine supplies. You probably don't want to stack it up to the ceiling. But let me tell you what, it's another barter item. I mean, yes, diamonds go out the window when you need this. So just keep it in mind and just keep buying it. Cleaning supplies, let me suggest to you that you start making your own. My daughter-in-law has made their own detergent, and it works better than the other. It takes only three products to do it, and you'll be okay. We're going to clean. If there's no money, your clothes still stink. You're going to have to do something. So learn to do this now. Next slide. Now this is the key to self-sufficiency, is bulk buys. I'm going to suggest to you that you're a community. You live in a neighborhood. Begin buying together. You want to buy case lots. You want to negotiate. Okay, I want, if I buy 10 cases of green beans, what price break can I get? So work on that. Work together to get it. Begin buying 50-pound bags of rice. Now this is short-term storage. This is not your 25-year stuff. This is just getting you through the crisis, and then split it up. Same things with spices and flavorings. Did you know you can buy soy sauce in a gallon? Like, I would use that much. But if 10 people poured it in little jars, it's a huge saving. You get almost as much for a gallon. You pay almost as much for a gallon as you do for just that little jar. So be friendly with one another and do this. The other thing you can do is you can buy produce directly from farmers. Consider doing that. Work on getting a network going. Now, next slide. I'm going to talk to you about self-sufficiency. What happens if it looks like normal is gone forever? Seriously, can you imagine it? I can't. It isn't in my mindset. My grandmother didn't wash clothes in a wash tub. I never remember her not having a washing machine. Now, when I was poor and first married, I washed a lot of stuff in the sink. Because do you know how much laundromats are? I found out I'd rather buy food. So I just washed them that way. And I had a clothes rack that I put it on. Some of you remember those days. You got to learn new skills. How many of you bake bread? Super. Can you bake it without electricity? You do? You know how to? Wonderful. Can you do it too? Okay, guys, you're the teachers. Learn how to do that. When I was a scout, we made cake in a box. Have y'all ever heard of using a box to bake in? Everybody's turned out wonderful. My box caught on fire. And I haven't tried it since, but I'm going to give it a whirl. Learn a new skill. How many of you think it would be a great idea to raise chickens in your backyard? I have bunches of friends who are doing it, and I get fresh eggs. I love it. Consider building an outdoor oven or a rocket stove.
What is a rocket stove?
Okay. A rocket stove is made out of a 5-gallon metal can. And you rig pipes going in, and you cut a hole in the side, and you make it an L shape, and then you put a little piece of metal in the very front of that outlet that goes out of, that comes out of the bucket. You can feed twigs in that thing, and it will boil water. Twigs. It produces. Now you got to insulate it, and you got to do all that other stuff. But it's on the internet, and you can manage this. You got to learn to do a new skill. My son and my husband and grandson are going to build a rocket stove. I want a solar oven, and I've learned about that. I've learned about something called a thermal oven, which is almost kind of like boiling something like beans, getting them good and hot, boiling them for 10 minutes, and then packing them in blankets. And they'll cook by themselves. I mean, y'all, there's stuff that we can do. The other thing is, let's go to slide 58. Yeah, tools and equipment. This may be your wish list. How many of you ladies can? A pressure canner is gold. Because if you're facing an electrical outage for any length of time, you've got all this meat in your freezer. You can can it with a pressure canner and save it. So just keep that in mind. You may have to build a fire over, in the backyard, but you can do that. These are other things you may want to consider. The other thing that's important is to have good hand tools. You're not going to be able to plug in your skill saw. You want the old-fashioned muscles. It's going to take muscles. Next slide. After you've prepared short term for 3 months and you've learned you can do it, y'all, we will be able to do 3 months. That means that for 3 months, if worse came to worse, you had no money or there was a crisis in the land, you could feed and take care of your family. You wouldn't have to buy. So then extend it for for a year. That's the important thing about it. And then you can start thinking about long term. After you've got 3 months storage, then you've got a year storage. You think, God, this economy isn't going to change. Well, y'all, it's too late. You don't have any money. You can't buy it then. Somewhere you've got to find the funds to do this. So pray about it. Think about it. That short-term storage of 3 months to a year is first. Do that. And then begin to think about these other things. Learn to dehydrate. Buying 50-pound bags and do your own nitrogen pack or oxygen absorber. That's the word, absorber pack. Go to no lights. If we don't have money, is it likely that the power companies are going to keep running? I don't know that we're going to have it. I mean, this is the way things keep going. So you're going to have to be able to figure in a short-term basis and a long-term basis how you deal with light. This lovely sign says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And you all, we live by that. But when it gets dark outside, we really want to flip a switch. But we may not be able to. You need not just what it's going to take to do an emergency 3 days, 4 days. You want to have enough that if this thing goes on and escalates, you've got something else. I buy oil lamps. Other people buy Coleman lamps. I'm cheap. Coleman ends up costing a lot because you have to have the fuel. But for a short-term period, that's really the better light, I'll be honest. The Coleman lanterns work better than oil lamps. But consider this. Flashlights. You need every kind, and you need extra batteries. But I'm suggesting that you buy rechargeable and get a solar battery charger. Okay, next slide. With a refrigerator, you're going to lose most of that if you don't have a canner. That's just reality. But what if you have no heat? Some people are buying these stoves that great-granny used. You put wood in them, you just put it in, and then you set stuff on top, and it cooks. And you can even bake in it. Yeah. We're going to have to learn a lot of new skills if it ever comes to that. But pray about it and think about it. You may decide this is what you want. My husband's shop is heated by a wood stove, and I can cook on it. So I'm set. I'm pretty excited about that. And I have the cast iron to go with it. You all go to your thrift stores, to your yard sales, buy cast iron stuff. This is what you're going to need. Next slide. Oh boy, everything I have is electric. Ooh. We know we have manual can openers, but do you know in the kitchen end of it how much we plug in? So have the hand stuff. You may have to find it in antique stores. I don't know. I've got it all. You know, I didn't throw much away. I just kept what grandmother gave me and what mother gave me. It's all in my drawers. But then this is the most important thing. Men, this is for you. Invest in good hand tools. Look for sales and buy them. If you've got hammers, what do you need with hammers? Nails. Do you know there were no nails in New Jersey? They went. Along with 2x4s, along with plywood, they were gone. They were off the shelf. Y'all, if you have damage to your home, what you gonna do? If you don't have a hammer and you don't have nails, how are you going to repair it? So this is, y'all, these are important. Get this stuff. You need it. Go ahead and do it now. If Lowe's has it, you want it. I mean, that's just plain and simply. Okay, next one. Look at that list and just believe God to begin doing it. You want your hatchets and your saws. If we go to wood stove, who's going to cut the wood? No problem with my husband. He's got a chainsaw. He's got 3 chainsaws, and some of them work some of the time. Anytime I want something done, it's in the shop, and it doesn't happen. I don't know. Chainsaws are great, but we are continually paying to get them repaired. That may be because my son borrows them. I don't know. I'm not accusing. The other thing is clothes for manual labor. If you tend to wear suits most of the time, you probably don't want to cut down a tree in a suit. You want good work boots. So if you can, begin to put this in your budget. And then think about the gardening tools. Our pretty ornamental gardens, those little cute little cultivators and the hand spades and all that. No, you want tough stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Army-Navy store and buy it. Now, we're going to skip a bunch of this stuff. Now, next side. Are we preppers yet? It's a little scary, but we're getting a tad wide-eyed. Look to your neighbor and say, I think you look like a prepper. Yeah. Y'all, you know who the first prepper was? Noah. If he not only got it together, he had to grow it to feed all those animals. So, we're just following our patriarchs by being preppers. So, one of the things here is, will things ever get back to normal after you've had a monetary collapse? The answer is no, they're not. What we're going to have is we're going to have a new normal. You know, we're going to have a new normal. We are wondrously made, and we will adapt. And God will show us the way to come to a new normal. The governments will issue new money, and we're going to find ways to earn it. One of the ways we're going to do is all those people who raised their hands and said they bake will become bakers. All those people who can sew will start making clothes again. We're going to have cottage industries just all over the place. But if you can't do it now, you're not going to be able to do it then. So start getting that. Now, we're going to have some questions and answers, but I want to give you this resource list. This is going to be on the web. I didn't get a handout for this. But ReadyGov is our FEMA list. The DOH Washington.com, or not Washington, yeah, Washington.com. This is your Department of Health. It has a wonderful website. SeattleGov/emergency. This also is excellent. Seattle is ready for disasters, you all. They're ready. Ready, San Diego. They don't use the web anymore. They have it in the cloud. Have y'all ever heard of a cloud? Oh, yeah. It's up there. Whatever. I mean, come on. If something happens, that cloud will just dissipate. Nothing will be ever gotten. I like it where I can put my hands on it, but that's excellent. Extension, Missouri has a digital, I'm probably saying this wrong, has a family plan that you can download on your computer and begin to just work off of it. It's excellent. Other places have it, but these, y'all, these are your resources that you're going to go, and it's going to get you started. But we're going to have question and answer, but I've got one more thing to say. You have to work together. The reason Jesus said that people would know that we were Christians is that we loved one another. We're designed to operate in a body. I need you and you need me. You need each other. My motto is together we're better. There are organizations already in place in Seattle that have things ready for you to join with them. You can do this. But you got to buy together. I mean, y'all could buy a truckload of toilet paper. Just have it delivered to the church and just, who wants this case? And that. I mean, there are things that you can work this out. You got to think big. So, we're chuckling at it because I have this mental image of all of this. And it's like Sunday morning, what is this? This tower of toilet paper in the vestibule. But seriously, think of ways you can come together with this. I want to take some questions from the audience. We're going to do that. Lynn and Don are going to do this. That does not mean I know the answer, but I will do my best. And then, if I can't answer it, email me and we'll get it put on the blog, and that'll work. So I think this gentleman has it. And y'all be thinking of anything else you want. Okay, one of the things that isn't on my list is eyeglasses, and those of us who wear them, but I'll tell you, my eyes have done weird things. I'm older. I can actually see pretty good without them. You're a little blurry, but I can see. So think about when you get new glasses, keep the old pair, just in case. But you want your medicines handy. Yes, Lynn, go ahead with that one.
Hi. What if you have your rainwater saved in those giant buckets or garbage cans, but you don't have electricity? Then how would you purify it?
You're going to use bleach.
Oh, and what if you don't have bleach? Is there any other?
You may have tummy aches. No, I'm serious. You want bleach. One of the things I will tell you that bleach is not a long-term storage item. I did not know this. It only has its bleachy stuff for about 6 months. So,
what about iodine? Could you use iodine?
Not anymore. It does not work. What you do recommend is that what you put in pools is exactly the same thing. So go to a pool store and get that. And I can't pronounce it. Something like, it has the word chlorine in it. I keep writing it down and forgetting it. But it's powdered and it lasts forever. And you just use that. Who's next?
To address the water question that we just asked, REI carries a myriad assortment of water filters. Probably the most important thing that you could buy, barring none, because you cannot survive very long without water. Bleach is good. get a filter. That way you don't have to, carry a bunch of water, especially for your backpack that you're going to grab and go. Put that water filter in there. If you could, you can get to Lake Washington, you can drink the water and filter it.
I really recommend those bottles of filtration. My mother gave everybody one for Christmas one year, and he was like, we all have them, and we know where they are. I mean, they're gold, but they are an item that is more expensive than bleach. But I think it's the best way to go, and I'm very thankful for mine. And so take a look at it. There's several kinds.
For about $50 or so, you can buy a water filter that will do just fine in an emergency.
Now, is that with the jar, or is it one you attach?
They've got a good selection.
Good selection.
And if you go down to REI, they'll be glad to demonstrate them.
Okay.
You can filter water.
Put that on your wish list. You'll be glad. Your tummy will be glad. You don't want what's in our water.
The filters, which I've looked at, also the replacement filters are $50 to $65. And they're individual backpack filters, the kind that you can carry, the small ones. They do small quantities. They'll get you through a couple of days. But when the filters clog up, you've got to have a replacement.
This is why you use that coffee filter to get the stuff out. And the least amount of gunk, the longer your filter is going to last. Yes. Now say that again so everyone can hear.
Water is distilled water. It has no minerals in it. So you may want to supplement your supply of minerals if you have a long-term disaster we have.
I think we're going to be glad we have rainwater. Oh, and actually, you all, I think you could drink it and you would be fine. Although they say to purify it with Clorox because your roof may not be sanitary, but I'd probably drink it. But we'll see. That's a good idea.
Can you give us some suggestions, like when the toilets don't flush, of something long-term of what you can do?
Ooh, yes. The shovel. I am serious. I feel sorry for apartment dwellers. I have a backyard. Hey, reality. You dig a privy, people. And right now, it's like, bleh. Well, you do it. And you buy some lime, and you get it stocked, and you just sprinkle lime every day on it, and it keeps it. And when that fills up to about, like this, you fill it up with dirt, and then dig another hole. Now, what if you can't get outside? You all, there is the good old 5-gallon bucket with a lid. Yes. You don't want to think about it, but do you know that in the olden days, they had these chambers that looked like a nice wooden chair, and underneath it was what they called a chamber pot. Well, I'm going to the Restore. That is something that Habitat for Humanity has, and they have portable, for people who are infirm, and it folds. For $5, I am buying me one with the chamber. I prefer that than a hole in the ground. I would rather empty it than use the hole in the ground. But you all, we do what we can. And REI also has plastic bags that you use and fill up. Let me tell you what. If we put food in our mouth, what? It is going to come out. You've got to think about this. And so that's reality. They have camping toilets that you can buy, and you may want to look into it. It's just that it's expensive. And if I had a choice between a $5 folding potty chair and a $50 camping toilet, I would choose the potty chair. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I had heard, and I don't know how you do it exactly, but that you could use kitty litter.
Yes, inside that works. Outside, it would just be more expensive than you'd want. But if you've got that 5-gallon bucket and you're inside, kitty litter works too. In fact, you'd probably want kitty litter before lime inside. Any other questions?
Yes, I've heard that
Yes. I don't text, so that is not one of the things I think about. People send me texts, and I tell them I don't read texts. So, but come up with maybe 1-word, 2-word codes that let people know. But texting goes through when the call won't.
The other aspect of the phone is to try to find the old phones that plug into the wall, the rotary kind, and they were often themselves for them.
Well, actually, you have to be connected. I have a landline. If you don't have a landline, you can plug that thing in and nothing will, you'll have that sound, nothing happens. But anybody who has all these portable phones, go to the Goodwill store or whatever and get yourself a one that's just straight into the receptacle, because they will work when nothing else does.
There's a large number of executive orders in place now.
No, wait, say that louder.
There's a large number of executive orders in place now, and of course our nice government representatives can come door to door under those, and it can be imposed very quickly. Is there any thinking that you know of what to do when you have been storing? What do you do then?
You're thinking that they can take your stores?
Oh, I know they can.
Yeah. The executive order is in place, you all. That's reality. It's there. I've read it. Everybody, we don't have any more rights right now. But is it going to happen? Not right now. I will just tell you what I plan to do. In Haiti, when the mobs stripped every single ministry of food in the whole island in one 24-hour period, our media said, oh, they were just hungry. No, they weren't. They were going to sell it. These were thugs. My husband worked for a hospital, and they built a false wall. You don't want your eggs in one basket. If it comes down to that, think about this reality. Yes, they can do it. Do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? No, I don't. Y'all, we will just pray. I live in the country, remember. I am using my land to have catches, and other people have too. Just think about it. We should have a big warning if something's coming down. This isn't going to be something that just happens. No, it's not. We'll know about it, and then we can just ask God, God, what do I do? I looked at some of Seattle's information about retrofitting houses that were built in 1980 and earlier. They're not to code. You in Seattle have codes that we in Georgia don't. That's reality. And so our houses aren't built the same way as y'all's are. And so you're going to, that's why I didn't give this as a you must do. It's flip-flopping. You don't really know. A quake that does a little bit of damage and not total devastation like Haiti. I watched those buildings being built. Oh, you know what they did? They just plastered over it. I mean, it was so shoddy. It was just an accident waiting to happen. We have better building codes than that. So just keep in mind, you're going to have to pray about it. Hopefully people have a little more information as we go on. But that is a good point. In Seattle, you probably would do fine under a kitchen table, but in other houses you might not.
I have been buying water, and I put them in my trash can outside. You can't tell that there's something there. And some my canned food I just put there because it's not suspicious. But my concern is how long those water bottles will last.
They'll last a year. The reason you put water in 2-liter plastic is 2-liter plastic lasts longer than the plastic that is in the water bottles that you buy, or tea things. Those degrade faster. They're designed to degrade. But the harder the plastic, the longer it's going to last. I had a gallon leak Okay, I went in and water was everywhere, so I finally traced it, and yeah, one of my gallons had sprung a leak. So that's something to think about.
Just for information, not only is the thicker the plastic, the longer it'll last, it's also safer because of the chemicals that are inside of the plastic itself tend not to migrate into the water if it's got a thicker plastic. So looking for a thicker plastic container and a larger container is always better than small.
Well, I will just tell you that on my wish list are 5-gallon stackable water containers. I mean, that's what I want, so that it can be inside my house and is there. So all of this information that y'all are sharing tonight, you're going to be sharing ideas that we need to hear about. Because if you don't know something, you don't know it. So we're going to have to share, and so please communicate. This ends pretty much what I was going to say. I didn't cover it all. I couldn't cover it all. But what we've done tonight is we've gotten started. The thinking is the start. The committing is the start. And together, we're going to make this journey of prudence. And we're going to be prepared for whatever comes. Now, bottom line, not everybody who prepares will get to enjoy what they stored. Think about the fire that went on in Queens. But I'd rather spend the money and get prepared with the confidence and faith in my God that I'm going to get to use it than say, well, it could be gone anyway. No, we've got a God who will tell us what to do. So please use the blog, use the email, begin talking to one another, and y'all, God designed us to survive. Our body renews itself. We have the mind of Christ. We have the Word of God. Y'all, we're in the best position to survive. But more than that, y'all, the world out there needs our minds. We're the ones with the wisdom. We're the ones who hear from God. So join with others and begin to be the leaders. Ask yourself what you're supposed to do. If you're just stockpiling for you, God ain't going to be too happy with that. We're givers. So we got to think of the way to give, individually and corporately. So every church has a mandate from God to fulfill the calling of that church, just the way we have a mandate. Our family has a mandate. So there are going to be niches. Not everybody has to be the baker. Somebody has got to believe God for a treadle sewing machine. We're going to be haunting the antique stores for those things. But y'all, we can do it. God created us with His abilities. I can't think like God. Oh, yeah, you can. Yes, we can. And we'll be able to do it. Now, we are in agreement that this did not produce any fear. We're not anxious because we're going to have a plan. Now, I need to see a show of hands of those that will commit to putting together a family disaster plan. How many will do this? Thank you. You may save the life of your family and the lives of those that live around you. And I appreciate it. And it's been so neat to be here. Y'all are a great group of people. And it's going to be fun to hear what God has you doing. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you, Linda, for sharing the presentation with us and provoking us to think about next steps. And you've certainly given us a lot to think about tonight. So thank you very much. We are going to take an offering tonight, and I'd ask Adam and John if you could help, and Pastor Matt and Ken, could you help in the ushering? And so, but I'm going to share a couple things with you while we're taking up the offering that are kind of building on this that I'd like to do. If any of you would like to write a check out, is to write it out to World For Jesus Ministries, WFJM. The guys have envelopes. Just raise your hand. They'll get you an envelope. Or if you have cash and want a receipt and so forth, we'll take care of that as well. And then as soon as they get those out, go ahead and make your checks out, put your cash in, and we'll ask them to hold off for about 2 or 3 minutes to collect. But I would like you to just, while you're writing your checks or giving, just to focus on a couple of things. First of all, I will say this to the guys. Guys, I was like long black heel marks with my wife on this whole deal back a couple years ago. And the wives have it right. They know how to prepare. It's just that sometimes we're slow to get it. So I want to say to the guys tonight, if you are one of those like I was, it didn't make sense at first, but it sure does now, especially in the way that we've been able to prepare. So, guys, go ahead if everybody's ready. So that's one point. One of the advantages of hosting the speaker is a free audit. And we had the opportunity today to have a free audit of our Go kits and so forth. And we actually have been working on this. This is not something that you just do overnight. It does take some preparation. And you've had a very good thought process given to us tonight about how to get started. And so I would really encourage you to take that first step, as Linda asked us, because collecting things, purchasing things, and so forth, it takes a little bit of time, but it'll be worth the effort in the long run. Also, extra copies of the handouts. I put those up here, and I really hate to see these go, or would like to see these get into the right hands, so that if you have friends, family, et cetera, please take copies of the handouts up here before you leave. I'd like to see those get used rather than sit on a shelf somewhere. So please honor us by taking those. Also, a couple of things that were part of our challenge, and that's okay. You can go ahead and come up and do that. Part of our challenge was, how do we get our kids? You know, we have kids that are 40 years in their 30s, also 40-year-olds in their 30s and so forth, from the aspect of, hey, why do we need to worry about this? And so we've gradually been sharing with them and kind of modeling what we are doing, but equally well is how do we help precipitate this thought process in their hearts and minds? So one of the things we've done the last 2 years is we started to make purchases of some of the things, and especially food items. So just hear me out now. Purchases of food items that you can give as a Christmas gift to them to get them started. I'll give you a great, for instance, in the last couple of days, Costco has had a number of sales of quantities of number 10 cans that you can purchase on sale, and you can have shipped direct to their home. You can have shipped direct to you if they're in the area. But what a wonderful gift to get them started, to start thinking, and to be able to plant some seeds rather than the traditional toys and clothing and all those sort of things. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying, how do you get your kids started and start modeling this and start promoting it? The presentation tonight with slides and audio will be posted in our media log in just a couple of days. So I know some of you were asking about that later, and you certainly want to be able to share that with friends and family. you're welcome to come up afterward. All of this stuff that's up here has been stored in one backpack. You know, I mean, that seems like kind of, amazing. But all of this that's on the table, with the exception of the radio, goes in one backpack that we purchased at a thrift shop. Okay? So I want you to be able to go from the idea of something on paper to implementing something and see that it's not that difficult. And many of these things are inexpensive. But when Linda talked about just carrying you through in 3 days, you can do it. You can do it. You just need to take that next step. So I want to encourage you. The other thing that we're doing in our community over in Somerset is community preparedness. And in addition to what Linda had as references, I would ask you to jot this website down. It's the Emergency Management Division and the State Department of, or the Washington government. It's EMD, Emergency Management Division, but it's emd.wa.gov. They do an excellent, excellent job of promoting community readiness. There's a couple of materials up here you're welcome to look at. Please don't walk away, because you can just call them and they will send you a full packet. Now, I'm sorry, kid. Yes, EMD, like Echo, Mike, Delta, dot Washington or WA dot gov, G-O-V. So EMD dot WA.gov. It costs you nothing, just the effort to go get it. Now, why is that so important in our communities? One of the things we did this summer in our own community, we have about 1,500 houses, and our subdivision is about 145 people, houses. And at our community block party, we actually asked people and had them sign in at the block party, and actually captured on a spreadsheet and with a very simple document that I had put together about what are your skills and knowledge, and what are the examples of equipment and supplies you have. Now, why would that be important? Well, if you're in a community situation and you need to help each other, our theme was neighbors helping neighbors. The things that we had on examples of skill and knowledge were, for example, what skills and knowledge do you have, like first aid or child care or elder care or critical care, search and rescue, crisis counseling, spiritual counseling, plumber, carpenter, electrician, firefighting, and then examples of equipment and supplies. And Linda touched on a number of these. First aid supplies, a chainsaw, a generator, tents, spare bedding, a camp stove, a fire extinguisher, a walkie-talkie, a NOAA weather radio, a ladder, a crowbar, and strong rope. And we captured that information for our community, and it spawned a wealth of ideas, a myriad of ideas with neighbors and things about how to help each other. Well, the thing that Lynn and I have been really focusing on over the last year or two that the Lord is really impressing upon us is, how can we work with people and help them at the same time minister to their needs? Does that make sense? So start to think the tools that EMD provides, for example, of how to help, and this is a no-brainer in the sense of what they provide. It's free and it's so easy. It's just a matter of stepping forward and doing it. But we see it as relationship with our community and helping them and being able to help them in a crisis situation where people need hope, especially need hope. But they so where do you fit in that? I just ask you and leave you with that. Where do you fit in that? So the questions really are this. Are you prepared? Will you be prepared? And will you make a difference in the kingdom to help your community? Those are the things I'd like to leave with you tonight. And so with that, Nita, would you like to close? Say anything? Okay. All right. I do have one other example of something I'd like to share. So a couple of years ago, this backpack was in my truck. And those of you who lived here during the Squally quake, that morning I was down in Kent sitting in a conference room at a business meeting. and the chandeliers began to shake, moving back and forth, and some things fell off the wall. Nothing major or anything like that. But I was working in Redmond at that time. It took me 8 hours, leaving at, I think it was like 11:30 in the morning. 8 hours later, I was back at the plant at Honeywell. Now, during that time, I used water. I used some of the chocolate bars that were in here, and a number of other things, just to keep me hydrated and so forth. And that, while that may seem like a very simple example, I think it brings home the fact that there are things that you can have even in your car on a daily basis that will help you get through whatever is going on. Now, that's a very simple, and it's not a very dramatic example. I had another similar situation about 2 years ago when we had some major snow and came home and couldn't get up into our area, and neither could anybody else. And so another gentleman and I got together. I took the sweatshirt, the hat, took off my tie, had extra pair of shoes and all that, and really started organizing traffic in our area to get in and out because people were sliding all over the place. Worked for 2 hours, but I couldn't have done that if I would have been in my business shoes and all that, if I wouldn't have had these things. Those are just two simple examples. So I would really encourage you to start moving in the direction of preparedness, both in your community, individually, and from a family standpoint. Carol? You've been very patient, very attentive. Linda, thank you again for sharing and your experience. It's really a really nice evening to be able to take all of this in and with the idea of moving forward. So would you all stand, and we'll just close in prayer. Father, we thank you. We thank you that what began in worship and in your presence has led to some practical thinking, some practical training. We thank you for our sister being brought here safely. And Lord, we ask for safe travel mercies as she returns back to Georgia on Sunday. Lord, I ask for everyone here this evening, Lord, that you would bless, you would protect. You have given them insight. Lord, that they would take this information and they would pray about it and say, Lord, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to use the tools that you're giving us and suggesting to us to not only minister, but to help, provide, and reach out? We want to be a community. We want to be raised up to be a light in our communities, to rise and shine, to let His light shine into our communities, into our families. Lord, we thank you for these concepts, and we thank you for your word. We thank you for your word that teaches who we are and what we should be doing. So, Lord, speak to us in these next days, Lord. Speak boldly. Speak into our lives. And, Lord, let us remember that you are calling us to a future and a destiny. Lord, we thank you for it. We ask everyone that's here, Lord, that you would give them safe travel mercies going home tonight. And we just thank you for your presence here tonight. And everyone said, amen. Thank you and good night.